Greetings, Cleveland, and welcome to Creative Focus, the show that illuminates some of Cleveland's most talented and creative artists across the genres of dance, film, music, theater, and visual arts. I'm your host, Cornell Calhoun III, and I'm thrilled to be at the historic and revered Karamu House, here to talk about their upcoming production, Weathering, by Harrison David Rivers. And here to tell us more about this compelling and riveting drama is the director, the multi-talented Miss Nina Domingue. Nina, welcome back to Creative Focus.
Thank you for having me.
Let's chop it up.
Always a good time.
Talk about Weathering. I mean, it's a resilient, community, grief-driven drama. What drew you to direct this poignant piece?
Several things. I think the subject is timely. Black maternal health and infant mortality in the Black community is at an epidemic rate. Infant mortality and maternal mortality in the Black community is happening at a rate 3 times faster than other communities. And a lot of it has to do with who the practitioners are. You know, the statistics change based on whether or not the family is served by a Black doctor or a Black doula or a Black midwife. And so that alone was enough for me. You know, I'm a mother, I have kids. Right. I lost my mother very young. I have my own, you know, labor, delivery, birth trauma stories. And it's just so much more common than people really understand it is. But what I love about the story itself is it's talking about what happens after and how you move forward, and that you do not do it alone, and that it takes your community to pour into you, to help you heal, to guide you through it. And it's just a beautifully written story. Like, everyone I know that reads the play, their first response is, a man wrote this? Because Harrison captures it. Like, every nuance, like the way the women interact with each other, the very specific relationships that they have, he nails it. He nails it. And it's just beautifully rendered.
Yeah, I read something where he was hesitant about the play because being a man, and then someone said, hey, this is the bomb. This is the bomb. Yeah. What message do you hope that the audience will take from Weathering?
That grief is appropriate. I think, you know, I'm from New Orleans.
You know New Orleans? No. We had that last
right. And one of the things I realized when I moved out of the city, you know, as I go back over the years to visit, is that we have a very rich and rooted grief culture. Like, we know how to grieve as a city. If a second line is happening that is attached directly to a funeral, anything that is happening in that neighborhood stops, and you join the second line. You wrap around the family, you celebrate with them, you hold them up in their grief, and there is space for it, where I find that in a lot of other places, the answer is always, well, you'll get over it, it'll be okay. Yeah, but it's not right now. Like, right now, currently, it is not, and that's appropriate. And I think a lot of times, more uncomfortable emotions we don't want to deal with, and we tend to look at them as negative. But grief is a very positive emotion. And what was it? WandaVision, Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's a line that whoever that writer is, I hope they get an award. But Vision says to Wanda, "What is grief but love persisting?" And that's what it is. It lets you know that love has been present, and now it has nowhere to go. And that is a valid thing to experience and feel after a loss. And that's one of the things I love the most about the play. There is not a single character that says to Lena, the woman that the story centers around, you'll get over it. Not one of them. They say lots of other things, but not one of them says, it'll be okay, you'll get over it. They say time will help you, You know, they say it will get softer in time, but they never tell her it's going to go away, because that's a lie. And they never say you'll get over it. And the appropriateness of grief during a loss is one of the things I love about the play.
As a director, how do you approach directing such an intense emotional piece?
Well, I think because of my own story, you know, my personal story, I have walked with grief so long. It is a welcome friend, like, oh, I recognize you, I see you, there you are. And one of the things that I think is really important, we have a check-in every day, and it's not like everybody go around and tell all their business of the day, but it's just, where are you right now? And we approach the work appropriately from wherever the room is. And we have an affirmation, a different affirmation, a quote of the day that we say every day. And, you know, ancestors are always present, and whichever one I happen to pick for the day seems to always hit just right and put us in that space. And because I have been studying intimacy choreography, and a lot of people think intimacy choreography is just about sexual scenes or sexual violence on stage, but it's not. It's about emotional intimacy. So even if there's a scene where, well, like this play, this is perfect because it's about how do we establish the beginning, the middle, and the end of a moment? How do we create a safe and brave environment to take these emotional risks, and how do we safely come out of them and make space for them?
Wow, that's so like thought-provoking. What were some of the challenges in writing and directing this piece? As you saw?
Yeah, well, you know, I think some of the biggest challenges were telling the actors, you don't have to do what you think is typical, because that's not what happens during grief. If you don't think your character is crying, don't. If you think that the way your character actually responds to this moment is laughter, do it, because grief does very strange things to us. And what I've found is that when you just let it be what it is, the audience responds so well to that, because there is somebody in that audience that's like, ooh, that's exactly what happened to me when I had that moment. And so just giving them the permission, and them giving themselves the permission to react to it however they react.
See, that's why you're such a great director, because that's thought-provoking. What has the rehearsal process been like thus far?
It is fun, believe it or not. In this play where we are talking about grief, it has been such a fun process. One of the things that I think people won't expect about the play, Harrison has taken this very common human experience and lifted it to a very classical place. Not that the language is in verse or it's classical in that way, but it's just like the structure of the play it's like epic folktale. It's the women at times become a chorus. And you know, when you look at plays that have a chorus employed, they become the voice of the community. They become the holders of ritual. They become the living embodiment of certain emotions. And it, like, he doesn't overtly say they are the chorus, but when you look at the title page in the script, one of the things, we spent a whole day on this in table work. He doesn't name them by their names. They're named by their archetype. So they're woman, man, mother, sister, neighbor, friend, church lady, and then their name is in parentheses. And the archetype is in all caps. And it's like, you know, writers are specific and intentional and nuanced. And it's like, why did he do that? And so the more we dug into it, we were like, oh, because she is representing all women. She's representing all mothers. She's representing all sisters. And what do those roles mean? And so there's this like dual story happening where the chorus is working to force Lena's grief to the surface because she keeps trying to stuff it down. And then when they embody their characters, they're taking care of her as the grief emerges.
That is so fascinating. So the whole script is like that.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's like when we're like, wait a minute. Because it's like, obviously it's 7 women in the play. So why does he say woman, mother, sister, friend? And it's like, and they're in all caps. So it's like woman in all caps, parentheses, Lena, written typically. And it's like, that there's a reason for that. And he doesn't tell us, which I love. It's like, you mine it and figure out what the meaning is for you as a company.
During the rehearsal process, has there been any unexpected discoveries?
Absolutely, 100%. So there's one man in the play. He plays the husband, Nathan, and discovering, it's almost like Harrison said, we need to hear his voice simply because there are often partners who are a part of this experience, if a baby is lost. And we need to hear his voice. Like, he's not the point, so he's not going to take over, but we need to hear his voice. We need to see the relationship between him and Lena, and we need to see how much this loss deeply affects him as well, even though he's not the one that carried the baby, but he still carried the promise of the child that was going to be there. And just the tenderness that exists between the husband and wife, but also the fun. Harrison has a way of writing these scenes that just when you think it's about to take you under, there is a moment of levity, and it's like, oh, where did that come from? And so that has been fun to discover how much joy is actually in the play, how much fun, because it's like, oh, it's a drama about child loss, and people think they're gonna come in here and cry the whole time. You're not. And I think that's accurate to what life is. A person can be completely depressed, but still have moments of joy inside of that.
How do you think the play will resonate with the audience? And do you have a vision for that? Or
I do. And we actually, one night in rehearsal, declared some things in the space and blessed the space. Whenever someone in my life loses someone, I don't tell them I'm sorry. I always say what I wished people would say to me. And I say to them, I hope that you have the space and the time to grieve appropriately. I hope that you have arms to hold you, love to surround you, and peace that passes all understanding as you move through. And that's what I hope. I hope that, because it will, I don't want to say trigger, it's such a improperly used word at this point, but it will activate a lot of emotions for the audience. And I hope it gives them a place and space for those emotions to land. And we have several talkbacks planned. We have a couple of partners. Birthing Beautiful Communities is a partner on the show. A Village of Healing, which is the new practice that has all Black doctors in every area of medicine, is a partner on the show. And so they will be here. There will be resources available, because this is the kind of thing that this story is going to open things up for people. And you don't want to just leave them like, all right, thank you for buying your ticket. Peace out. But there are going to be resources available. And I hope that people that need those resources will really connect with them, and that the story opens the door for them to do that and know that it's okay to do that, that they don't have to do it alone.
Do you believe, as a director, that we are responsible of the dynamic between the actors?
Absolutely. Absolutely. From casting forward, we build that room. We build that room, and I never cast simply on who I think can play the role. I cast also based on what is the energy that I want to invite into that room. How are these energies going to play together? How are they going to enhance each other? How are they going to push each other to the boundaries of their art? We're absolutely responsible for that. Absolutely.
So thus far, what has been the most rewarding effort in the play that you've seen as it starts to come to develop? Would you say?
I think the cast is finding connections with themselves and with each other, and I'm watching them grow as people, which in turn stretches their art and their mastery of their craft, and watching their confidence grow, because I think one of the hardest things for me to do as an actor when I'm performing is figuring out, is this Nina's discomfort or the character's discomfort? And, if it's the character's discomfort, that's what you want, Mm-hmm. And if it's Nina being uncomfortable, okay, what about this makes me uncomfortable? And then being able to move that out of the way so I can tell the character's story, and being able to learn when to ask that question has been one of the most challenging things for me to learn. And so watching them learn how to ask themselves that question, is this me or is this the character? And then stretching themselves to allow themselves to, oh, I'm experiencing their discomfort. Let me not push it away, because that's actually what the moment in the play is calling for. Because, as human beings, we feel uncomfortable. Our instinct is fix it. And so it's tricky when you're an actor, because you're embodying this other life. And it's like, oh, is this mine or is this theirs? Okay, no, this is what we want to feel right now. And watching them figure that out is fun.
Has working, directing, weathering changed the way you think about grief, about community, about healing?
I don't think it's changed it. I think it's solidified it. I think it's caused it to be more deeply rooted. There is a lot of, from the beginning of the pandemic forward, there's been so much attention on like self-care. And that's important, but it's not rooted in Black culture. I think Black culture is rooted in community care. And while, yes, you do have to learn how to take care of yourself if there's no one there, I think the reliance on community is something that we have to continue to nurture. Like, people need people. We are not designed or built to be alone. And it doesn't mean you got to be around people all day, every day. But in those moments when it's hardest, you need support. And I think it's just solidified that for me, because the way they wrap around her in this story is just, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Now, when is this production?
March 7th. March 7th, all through Women's History Month, which was
that's
purposeful.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Tony purposefully programmed it during Women's History Month. And when he was in season planning, one of the things he says, like, I want us to do a piece about Black women and Black women's health during Women's History Month. It also balances the season. The last show of the season is Choir Boy, which is a predominantly male script. So now we have this predominantly female script to balance out the talent that is hired, because Karamu is built on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right.
And so making sure that there is a balance of opportunity has always been important. So yeah, during Women's History Month, it's all about the ladies.
And what are the dates again?
March 7th through the end of March.
The end of March.
Yes.
Okay. And they can go right on the Karamu website and buy the tickets.
KaramuHouse.org, and it should be one of the first things that pops up on the website.
Okay. Incredible. It was a blast having you back, man. I'm gonna have to get you a job as my co-host.
Listen, let's do it.
I'd like to thank my special guest, Nina Domingue, for hanging out with us today on Creative Focus. So that's it, Cleveland, we're out. But remember, A true artist is not only inspired, but inspires others. I'm Cornell Calhoun III for TV 20 and Creative Focus. Until the next time becomes our time, be well, be safe.